Hello there, and welcome to Earth Analyst. Today I will be speaking about what if Earth was just a piece of gum. Imagine closing your eyes and letting the world around you fade away until only silence and breath remain. In that silence, picture Earth not as the vast blue sphere that satellites photograph, not as the ground beneath your feet, but as something so small, so fragile, so strangely delicate that it could sit between your fingers like a piece of gum. Imagine compressing every ocean, every mountain range, every desert, every forest into something soft, round, and tiny. Imagine the continents pressed into faint swirls of color, the atmosphere as nothing more than a thin, glossy coating, and all of humanity, billions of people reduced to dots so fine you could not even see them. If Earth were gum, you could slip it into your pocket, forget it on a desk, or lose it between the cushions of a chair. And yet inside, that gum would still be every story, every laugh, every sorrow, and every dream. Now drift further into this thought. If Earth were gum, the sun would tower above it like a blazing bonfire the size of a mountain, radiating heat so strong the little gumball planet would seem like a toy orbiting a furnace. Jupiter would stand like a colossal skyscraper beside it, Saturn a glowing carnival wheel spinning endlessly in silence, and Neptune a vast frozen sphere so massive it would make our tiny gum-like Earth seem almost invisible. Imagine the Milky Way itself, a grand city of stars stretching farther than the mind can grasp, where our gum-sized world is not even a pebble on the sidewalk, not even a grain of dust on the floor. Imagine galaxies beyond galaxies, spiraling like endless storms, and black holes swallowing whole star systems without a pause, while our small gum floats unnoticed, unshaken, unheard. But within this gum-sized Earth, life would still be breathing. Forests would still grow with green whispers. Rivers would still carve paths of silver. Winds would still dance across deserts. And oceans would still pulse with the heartbeat of tides. Every sunrise would still paint the sky. Every night would still open to stars. And every person would still wake to hopes, fears, and dreams. Imagine holding this piece of gum and realizing that inside it is every library, every city, every temple, every bridge, every invention and creation humanity has ever made. Imagine how small wars would feel when seen like wrinkles pressed into the soft surface of gum. How meaningless borders would appear when they are only faint lines, invisible to the eye. How fragile our pride would seem when compressed into something you could hold in your hand. If Earth were just gum, its history would be like flavors that fade and return. Ancient civilizations, once strong and mighty, would be like the first sweet taste, quickly swallowed by time. Empires would rise and fall like the stretching of gum pulled too far. Memories of people long gone would linger faintly, like flavor that clings even after chewing. The Earth would be reshaped again and again, stretched by earthquakes, pressed by glaciers, chewed by the slow bite of erosion, yet always carrying the essence of life, always holding the flavor of existence. And what of us, the dreamers, the thinkers, the wanderers? If we are inhabitants of this gum-sized Earth, then we are threads inside a much greater fabric. We are whispers inside a storm. We are sparks of light in an endless night. But in that smallness lies something beautiful. In being tiny, we are reminded to be humble. In being fragile, we are reminded to be kind. In being insignificant to the universe, we become significant to each other. Picture yourself floating through space, looking down at the gum-sized Earth resting below. The stars around you are giants, glowing with a brilliance that could swallow entire solar systems. Yet your gaze falls to that one tiny orb because it is home. It is where you were born, where love exists, where laughter echoes, where silence carries meaning. Imagine realizing that you carry more connection to that gum-sized planet than to all the endless stars combined, because inside it lives every moment of your being. The universe may not notice us. It may not bend when we speak. It may not pause when we cry. It may not care when we rise and fall. To the cosmos, Earth is almost nothing, but to us it is everything. And maybe that is the beauty, that something so small, so unremarkable on the cosmic stage can hold so much wonder for those who live upon it. So tonight, as you drift into rest, let this vision stay with you. Imagine Earth as a tiny gumball, drifting through the dark, carried by gravity, warmed by the sun, sheltered by its thin, delicate shell of air. Imagine it glowing softly in the blackness, spinning slowly, carrying oceans and mountains and forests and cities, carrying you. And as you imagine it, feel the calm of perspective, the peace of knowing that in the vastness of the universe, you are part of a story so much greater, yet so intimately small. Earth is only gum in the hands of the cosmos, yet inside this fragile piece of life, lies every dream we have ever dared to dream. And that is enough. The idea of a gum-sized Earth. Imagine for a moment that our planet, the place where every story of life has unfolded, was no larger than a simple piece of gum you could hold in the palm of your hand. And imagine how strange it would feel to look at the mountains, the oceans, and the skies all compressed into something so small, soft, and fragile, almost like a child's toy. If Earth were gum, every skyscraper would be invisible, every ocean nothing more than a smooth glaze, and the clouds a faint sheen that you could hardly notice. Within that small piece would live everything: the laughter of children, the struggles of empires, the silence of deserts, and the roar of storms. Yet all of it would be packed into a single tiny sphere. The concept alone shifts our perspective, pulling us out of the idea of a grand, endless planet and showing us instead the fragility of our place in the cosmos. This gum-sized Earth would not command fear nor boast power. It would only whisper of its smallness against the vast silence of the universe. To hold it would be to hold history, memory, and possibility all at once. A world that could be lost if it slipped from your fingers. A world that could roll under a table and vanish unnoticed. And still, despite its size, it would remain a treasure, a tiny carrier of life against the backdrop of infinite emptiness. Scale of the universe. The scale of the universe makes even our full-sized Earth seem small. But when imagined as a piece of gum, its insignificance becomes almost overwhelming. Stars would rise like mountains, so massive that their glow would dwarf our tiny sphere completely, casting it into shadow as if it were nothing at all. Galaxies would be sprawling cities of light, endless in their sprawl, each one a metropolis, where our gum-sized Earth would not even be a grain of sand on the pavement. Black holes, with their hunger for stars, would swallow planets and solar systems without the faintest pause. Their gravity so strong that a gum-like Earth would not even be noticed as it vanished forever. Nebulas would stretch like oceans of color, each wave larger than 1 billion worlds, each hue more vast than all human history combined. The Milky Way itself would be a glowing river in the night, carrying billions of suns, while our small gum drifted helplessly among them. To see the Earth this way is to understand humility, to realize that even the mountains we think are tall, even the oceans we think are endless, are in fact only tiny marks on something so very small. This perspective transforms pride into awe, fear into wonder, and noise into silence, reminding us that in the grand design, we are but a fragile piece drifting through infinite darkness. Humanity in a tiny world. If Earth were no bigger than a piece of gum, where would humanity stand, and how would our achievements appear when viewed from above? The skyscrapers that seem to pierce the sky would vanish into nothing. The Great Wall would be invisible, and every city would disappear into the faint texture of the gum's surface. Our wars would be no more than scratches, our roads only faint, lines too small to see, and our borders meaningless illusions that could not survive on such a scale. Yet inside this gumbo, every voice would still rise, every song would still echo, and every prayer would still reach out into the night, each one a tiny spark of significance in an ocean of insignificance. The history of humanity would be like flavors pressed into the gum, some sweet, some bitter, some fading too quickly, others lingering long after the moment has passed. All of our art, our science, our literature, and our technology would exist in this single soft sphere, carried by billions of people who still imagine themselves as vast, though in truth they are no larger than dust in the grand design. Humanity would still dream, still create, still fight for meaning, but perhaps we would do so with greater humility if we could see the smallness of our homes, of our home. Nature's presence within gum-sized Earth. Nature would not vanish. Instead, it would shrink into a quiet masterpiece hidden inside a fragile shell. Mountains would become invisible ridges. Oceans would be faint blue shades. Forests would be nothing more than whispers of green, and deserts would vanish into the smooth texture of the sphere. Yet inside, the rhythm of life would continue. Birds would still rise into skies too small to see. Rivers would still carve paths unseen, and winds would still travel across invisible plains. The seasons would still turn, snow would still fall, rain would still nourish the soil, and flowers would still bloom, even if the blooms could not be noticed from the outside. Nature has always thrived within the small, in the seed, in the cell, in the grain of soil, and so it would thrive still, even inside a gum-sized planet. Every storm would be a whisper, every wave a breath, every quake a faint shiver, and yet, inside those tiny movements, life would feel immense, meaningful, and grand. The gum-like Earth would remind us that beauty does not depend on scale, that even the smallest spaces can carry entire worlds, and that the power of life is not measured by size, but by presence. Time on a small planet if Earth were gum. Would time itself feel different, compressed as space is compressed? Or would the rhythm of days and nights continue unchanged, indifferent to the scale of the sphere? The sun would still rise, even if its light engulfed the tiny ball entirely, painting its surface in warmth, only to leave it in cool shadow as it turned again. The moon would still circle, a guardian in orbit, though compared to the gumble Earth, it would feel like a massive stone, its pull still guiding tides that would remain invisible to the eye. The history of humanity, measured in centuries, would be a faint stretch in the gum's flavor, each age lingering for only a moment before giving way to another. Civilizations would appear and vanish quickly, as though they were brief bursts of sweetness, gone almost before they were tasted. To live on a gum-sized Earth would not change the human sense of time, but it would change how we feel about it. Every moment would seem even more fragile, every second even more fleeting, every memory even more precious, perhaps, than we would. Learn not to waste time, not to stretch it thoughtlessly, but to savor it as carefully as we savor the last flavor of gum before it fades. The fragility of existence. Holding a gum-sized Earth in your hand, you would realize just how fragile existence truly is, how easily everything we know could be lost. A simple drop from your palm could shatter the delicate sphere, sending oceans and continents scattering into nothing, and with them every life, every memory, every dream. The atmosphere, already thin, would be nothing more than a glossy film that could be wiped away with a careless touch, ending life in an instant. The stars around us would feel like giants pressing down, their heat, their gravity, their storms all threatening to swallow our fragile gum world at any moment. A passing asteroid would be enough to flatten it completely, and cosmic radiation could strip it of its flavor and leave it lifeless. Life on a gum-sized Earth would survive only by miracle, balancing on a thread of chance, fragile beyond measure. And yet, in that fragility lies its beauty, because fragility reminds us of care, of gentleness, of the need to treasure what we have before it is gone. The gum-sized Earth would be a reminder not of despair, but of reverence, urging us to treat our home as something precious, irreplaceable, and infinitely delicate. The view from space. Imagine standing in space, looking down at Earth as a ball floating in the blackness, spinning slowly, carrying oceans and mountains inside its soft shell. From that vantage point, everything we worry about would vanish into silence. Every war would shrink to nothing. Every border would disappear, and all that would remain would be a tiny sphere glowing faintly in the dark. Stars would rise around it like titans, galaxies like endless rivers of fire, black holes like whirlpools ready to swallow entire neighborhoods of suns. And yet your eyes would rest only on that gum-sized Earth, because it is home. It is where your breath comes from, where your memories live, where love exists, where every story you know has unfolded. From space, you would see how fragile it looks, how easily it could be lost, how quickly it could disappear, and you would feel both fear and awe. Fear because you realize how small we are, because you realize how miraculous it is that we exist at all. The gum-sized Earth is not only a planet, it is a cradle, a sanctuary, a secret world glowing against the infinite, reminding us of our place and our belonging. The meaning of smallness. To imagine Earth as gum-sized is to accept the meaning of smallness, to recognize that greatness is not found in size, but in depth, not in power, but in presence. We are small, but we are alive. We are tiny, but we dream. We are fragile, but we love. The gum-like earth reminds us that the universe does not measure us by scale. It measures us by meaning. Even the smallest seed can grow into a tree. Even the smallest cell can carry life. And even the smallest planet can host beauty that defies comprehension. Smallness is not weakness, it is clarity, a perspective that allows us to see the infinite while still cherishing the intimate. If we lived with the awareness of our smallness, perhaps we would be gentler, kinder, more grateful for the gift of simply existing. The gum-sized earth is a lesson in humility, teaching us to let go of pride and to embrace wonder instead, to see life not as a conquest of size, but as a celebration of being, however tiny, however brief, however fragile. Lessons from a gum's earth. What would we learn if earth were gum-sized? We would learn that strength is not found in mass, but in resilience. For even in its smallness, life would thrive and persist. We would learn that beauty is not measured in size, but in detail. For even in a tiny world, forests would still sway, oceans would still breathe, and skies would still glow with stars. We would learn that meaning is not written by the universe, but by us. For even if the cosmos does not notice our existence, we can still create, still love, still dream within the boundaries of our small home. The gum-sized earth would teach us that every breath matters, every smile matters, every act of kindness echoes louder than we realize, because within smallness, everything carries weight. It would teach us to stop chasing the illusion of vastness and to find wonder in the tiny, the fleeting, the fragile. Above all, it would teach us that life, no matter how small, is always worth cherishing, always worth protecting, always worth celebrating. Conclusion: finding peace in perspective. As we close this journey of imagination, let us rest with the vision of Earth as a gum-sized ball drifting through the endless dark, small, fragile, yet filled with light and life. Let us remember that size does not define worth, that scale does not determine meaning, that even the tiniest things can hold infinite value. The gum-sized Earth reminds us that the universe may not notice us, but that does not erase the significance of our laughter, our love, and our dreams. In the silence of space, in the presence of stars, in the immensity of galaxies, our little world still shines, carrying oceans, forests, people, and hope. And as you drift into sleep, let this vision soothe you, a tiny gumball Earth, safe in the palm of the cosmos, spinning quietly, carrying you gently along, reminding you that smallness is not to be feared, but to be cherished. For in being small, we find perspective. In being fragile, we find beauty. And in being tiny, we find peace. The cosmic playground, imagine Earth not as the grand blue sphere of oceans and continents we know, but as a tiny piece of gum drifting through an endless playground of stars, small enough to slip unnoticed between the cracks of infinity, yet precious enough to carry all the meaning of life within it. The cosmic playground is vast beyond imagination, filled with galaxies that swirl like whirlpools of fire, stars that burn hotter than we can conceive, and black holes that wait like silent mouths to swallow whole clusters of light. And still, our gum-sized Earth drifts quietly among them. Within that playground, every other planet is a colossus, every star a giant torch, every galaxy a city of lights that dwarfs the little sphere. But even so, the gum-sized earth holds something the playground cannot create on its own life memory, laughter, and love. If you could hold it in your hand, it would feel almost insignificant, but within its soft, fragile form lies every dream humanity has dared to imagine. Every story told across campfires, every song whispered under moonlight. The playground around it may be grand and endless, but the smallness of Earth gives it a strange kind of significance. A reminder that even the tiniest part of the universe can hold wonders the vastness cannot. The gum in the hands of time. If Earth were gum, then time itself would be its invisible chewer, stretching and folding it endlessly, pressing into it the marks of history, shaping it with every second that passes. Civilizations would be flavors that come and go, some sweet, some bitter, some lingering longer than expected, others fading before they are even noticed, all of them pressed into the same tiny piece. The gum would carry the imprints of ages, the ridges of mountains formed by ancient forces, the faint scars of meteors, the stretch marks of shifting continents, all traces of time's unseen hands. Human history would be no more than faint, wrinkles in the texture, wars and triumphs pressed into the surface, only to fade again as time continued chewing. And yet, within that cycle, time would also preserve the essence of life itself, carrying forward the whispers of ancestors, the beauty of forests, the rhythm of tides, the memory of stars that once guided travelers. Time would stretch the gum, but never destroy it, bend it, but never erase it, reminding us that everything changes, but nothing is ever truly lost. In this way, the gum-sized Earth becomes more than just a planet. It becomes a living diary of the universe itself, a toy in the universe's pocket. Imagine if the universe kept Earth in its pocket, the way a child keeps a piece of gum, forgotten but still carried everywhere, a tiny ball hidden in the folds of infinity. While galaxies spun their grand spirals and stars erupted into flames, the gum-sized Earth would sit quietly, unnoticed, but still alive, still vibrant. From that pocket, every story of humanity would unfold, every dream would be born, every love would be felt, and all of it would exist in secret, hidden inside something the universe might not even remember carrying. The image humbles us, showing that greatness is not about being noticed by the universe, but about existing regardless of whether we are seen. Even as a forgotten toy, Earth would matter to us, and that is enough. Then existence itself would be its flavor, a taste that never truly ends but shifts from one note to another, changing with each age of history. At times the flavor would be sweet, during moments of peace and discovery, when humanity looks at the stars and feels wonder. At times the flavor would be bitter, during wars, losses, and struggles, when life feels fragile and fleeting. Sometimes it would fade during forgotten centuries, only to return stronger in bursts of creativity, invention, or love. The gum-sized Earth would carry all these flavors within it, blending them into something complex, unique, and unforgettable. To chew the Earth is to taste the history of existence itself, the salt of the sea, the sweetness of the forest, the fire of volcanoes, the cold of glaciers, and the warmth of human connection. Unlike ordinary gum, the Earth's flavor never ends. It evolves, adapts, lingers, carrying forward the essence of life, long after moments pass. In that sense, our gum-sized planet becomes eternal, not because of its size, but because of the endless flavor of its existence. The illusion of borders. On a gum-sized Earth, borders would lose all meaning, vanishing like faint scratches, invisible to the eye, revealing how artificial they truly are. The lines we draw on maps, the boundaries we fight over, the divisions we cling to, would be no more than illusions when seen from the perspective of such a tiny sphere. Nations, empires, kingdoms, all of them would shrink into nothing, their flags and walls collapsing into the smoothness of the gum's surface. Yet inside that gum, people would still live, still argue, still build, still divide themselves, even though from the outside no distinction exists at all. The gum-sized Earth would remind us that borders are human creations, not natural ones, and that, from the universe's view, we are one single piece, undivided, unbroken. Perhaps, if we could see the Earth this way, as a tiny gumball drifting in the void, we would let go of the illusions that separate us, and remember that we are, all of us, simply inhabitants of the same fragile piece, the mirror of fragility. Gum-sized Earth would be like a mirror, reflecting back to us the fragility of life, the delicacy of existence, the way everything can be lost in an instant. Held in your palm, you could see how easily it might fall, how quickly it might be crushed, how vulnerable it is to every touch. The thinness of its atmosphere would look like a glossy film that could be wiped away, the oceans like stains that could be washed off, the forests like faint marks that could be erased. And yet, in that fragility lies its beauty, because fragility makes us gentle. Fragility makes us careful. Fragility makes us appreciate what we hold. The gum-sized Earth would teach us to see our home not as something strong and unbreakable, but as something delicate that needs constant care, constant love, constant protection. And in learning that, perhaps we would become gentler, not only with the planet, but with one another, because fragility reminds us that everything, every life, every moment, every connection is precious. Stars, as watchers, in the silence of the cosmos, stars would be like watchers looking down at the gum-sized Earth, their light falling across its surface as if they were keeping it safe, even though to them it is almost invisible. Each star would burn with a brilliance far beyond anything the small planet could reflect. Yet together they would create a background of guardianship, surrounding the gumball with light. To us, those stars are impossibly distant, unreachable, and yet their glow touches us, travels across space for millions of years, only to arrive on our tiny surface. The gum-sized Earth would glow back faintly, reflecting their light like a small jewel hidden in a dark sea. If the stars are watchers, then Earth is their secret. A tiny flame they protect unknowingly, a piece of gum they do not even realize. They guard, and perhaps that is the beauty, that even when unseen, we are part of the great dance of the universe, a participant in the rhythm of stars, a small note in their song. The silence of smallness. To imagine Earth as gum-sized is to imagine silence, the quiet hum of existence, too small to disturb the vast symphony of space. The universe would roar with stars exploding, galaxies colliding, black holes devouring, yet none of that noise would be interrupted by the small hum of our gumball planet. Earth would spin silently, orbit quietly, breathe gently, never raising, its voice above the cosmic song, and in that silence it would find peace. Humanity, so often loud with its wars, its shouts, its chaos, would become whispers in that silence, faint echoes that never escape the gum's surface. And yet, silence does not mean emptiness. Silence can mean calm. Silence can mean meaning. Silence can mean the space in which beauty is noticed. The gum-sized earth would be a lesson in silence, teaching us to find comfort in being small, to embrace the peace of insignificance, to recognize that in the vast choir of the cosmos, even the smallest whisper has a place. The gift of perspective, to hold the earth as a gum-sized ball, is to hold perspective itself, to see with clarity what matters and what does not. Suddenly, the arguments of nations seem petty, the pride of empires hollow, the struggles for dominance meaningless, because from the universe's view, we are all simply passengers on the same fragile sphere. Perspective teaches us humility, reminding us that we are not as vast as we think. To imagine Earth as gum is to remember that we are one, that our differences vanish when seen from above, that what unites us is far greater than what divides us. Perspective gives peace, peace in knowing that we do not need to be large to be meaningful, that we do not need to be noticed by the universe to matter. The gum-sized earth is not a humiliation, it is a gift, a reminder that even the tiniest part of existence can hold infinite value, infinite wonder, infinite love, a cradle in the infinite, though small, though fragile, though no larger than a piece of gum. Earth remains a cradle, a sanctuary of life in a universe that otherwise feels empty. Within that tiny sphere are oceans filled with creatures, skies painted with stars, lands shaped by rivers and winds, and people who dream, create, and love. The cradle carries us through the blackness, protects us with its thin shield of air, warms us with its connection to the sun, and gives us everything we need to survive. To see Earth as gum-sized is not to strip it of meaning, but to amplify it, to remind us that even the smallest sanctuary is still a sanctuary. Even the tiniest cradle can still protect. The infinite may surround us, but this small piece is ours, and in its smallness lies its strength, because it carries not only life, but meaning. And as we rest tonight, imagining the earth as a gumball floating in the vast silence, let us feel the comfort of that cradle, carrying us gently through the endless dark, reminding us that home, no matter how small, is always enough, always enough. The smallest stage of life, if Earth were a gum-sized world, then it would serve as the smallest stage on which the grandest drama of life has ever been played, carrying within its tiny form every struggle, every triumph, every heartbreak, and every joy, from the faint beginnings of life as microscopic sparks in the ocean, to towering civilizations that rose and fell, to the quiet lives of billions of people who never made history books but still shaped the world in their own ways. All of it would fit inside the soft shell of gum. This stage would not be grand in size, but in meaning, for it would hold more emotion, more memory, more beauty than the entire vastness of galaxies that know no life. The gumball Earth would be the smallest theater, lit not by spotlights, but by the distant glow of stars, and yet every performance would matter deeply to those who lived it. On such a stage, pride would vanish, because scale means nothing when the curtain of the universe is infinite, but love, kindness, and connection would remain, because they are the true actors in the play. The smallest stage would remind us that life does not need size to be significant. It only needs presence. It only needs meaning. The weight of memories sighed a gum-sized earth. The weight of memories would be heavier than mountains because every moment lived would still exist within its tiny borders, layered and pressed into the surface like flavor into gum. The laughter of children, the cries of the wounded, the songs sung across generations, the secrets whispered in the dark. All of them would stay inside the tiny sphere, invisible to the eye, but alive to those who lived them. Memories of storms, sweeping across the oceans, of birds rising into the morning sky, of lovers meeting under the stars, all would still remain, even if the planet were no bigger than a toy. If you held the gum-sized earth in your hand, you would not feel its physical weight, but you would feel the invisible gravity of all the stories it carries, stories so countless that they outnumber the stars in the galaxy. The weight of memories is not measured in kilograms or tons, but in meaning, and that meaning would press deeply into the tiny gumble earth until it overflowed with silent significance. To imagine this is to see that smallness does not erase importance. It concentrates it, condenses it, and preserves it in ways that even infinity cannot. The breath of the planet, though small, though fragile, though gum-sized, Earth would still breathe, inhaling and exhaling through forests, through oceans, through winds that circle its tiny surface. The trees would still reach upward, their leaves releasing oxygen into the thin sky, and the seas would still carry carbon, balancing the rhythm of the air, even if those movements were invisible from the outside. The breath of the planet would be soft, almost inaudible, but steady, a heartbeat of life inside a tiny ball adrift in the cosmos. Every storm would be like a sigh, every breeze like a whisper, every wave like a quiet pulse, and together they would remind us that the earth, no matter how small, is still alive. To imagine earth as gum is to imagine the fragility of breath itself, to see how delicately balanced it is, and to realize how dependent we are upon it. The gum-sized earth would show us that breath is the most precious gift, not just for humanity, but for the entire planet, for every living thing that calls it home. It would remind us that life is not about size or scale, but about rhythm, the steady inhale and exhale that keeps us alive, keeps us connected, keeps us here. A bubble in the ocean of space. Think of Earth as a bubble drifting in an endless ocean of stars, and then shrink that bubble until it is no more than a piece of gum floating in the black waters of the cosmos, fragile and ready to burst at any moment. Around it, the ocean stretches without end, waves of light and shadow rolling across billions of years. Yet the tiny bubble remains afloat, carrying its delicate cargo of life. A bubble can break with the slightest touch, and so could a gum Earth. But until it does, it glows faintly, a small sphere of color in a dark sea. The ocean of space may not notice it, may not care if it drifts, may not pause if it vanishes. But for us, the bubble is everything, because it is where we live, where we hope, where we dream. The gum-sized Earth would remind us of that fragility, reminding us that every bubble is temporary, every bubble is unique, and every bubble deserves to be cherished before it bursts. And so we would watch it float, we would treasure its glow, and we would understand that even the smallest bubble can be the most meaningful part of the ocean. The invisible symphony on a gum-sized earth. The music of life would still play, even if unheard by the universe, even if too faint to rise beyond its tiny shell. The rustling of leaves would still create soft harmonies. The crash of waves would still provide rhythm. The cries of animals would still add melodies, and the voices of people would still sing their endless songs. Together, these sounds would form an invisible symphony, one that may not carry beyond the gumble's borders, but one that matters profoundly to those within it. The universe might roar with the explosions of stars and the collisions of galaxies, but no sound would carry the meaning of this hidden music. For within the gum-sized earth, the symphony would be alive, real, pulsing, and eternal, even if the rest of the cosmos remained deaf to it. To imagine this is to realize that music does not need to be heard to exist. It only needs to be lived, and that life itself is the greatest symphony of all, no matter how small the stage on which it plays. A candle in the dark, the gum-sized earth would shine like a candle in the dark, a faint, fragile glow against the overwhelming blackness of space. A candle does not banish the darkness, it does not end the night, but it creates a circle of warmth, a fragile boundary where life feels possible, where hope feels real. That is what Earth would be in the vast universe, a small flame that carries enough warmth to nurture forests, enough light to guide travelers, enough heat to keep life alive. The candle may be tiny, but to those gathered around it, it is everything. The difference between despair and comfort, between silence and song. The gum-sized earth would remind us that it is not the size of the flame that matters, but the life it sustains. Surrounded by stars that burn brighter and longer, our little candle would still be unique, still be precious, because it carries life, something no other light can claim with certainty. And so, the gum-sized earth becomes more than a planet. It becomes a lantern, glowing faintly in the dark, guiding us gently through the silence of space. The garden within, though small as gum, Earth would still be a garden, a living sphere of green, blue, and gold, carrying endless life within its fragile shell. Forests would still whisper, rivers would still flow, mountains would still rise, and flowers would still bloom, even if none of it could be seen from the outside. The gum-sized Earth would be like a secret garden, hidden from the eyes of the universe, yet alive with colors, scents, and movements that only those within it could appreciate. A garden does not need vastness to be beautiful. It only needs life, and this tiny gumball would overflow with it, carrying more diversity than even the grandest galaxies. To imagine Earth this way is to remember that life is a miracle, one that thrives not in the vast, but in the small, the delicate, the carefully balanced. The garden within the gum-sized earth would be a reminder to cherish the hidden, the unnoticed, the fragile details of existence that make it meaningful. And though the universe may never see this garden, it would remain our treasure, our home, our miracle, the endless journey as a gum-sized ball drifting through space. Earth would be forever on a journey, orbiting the sun, spinning on its axis, traveling through the galaxy without pause. The journey would not end, not for lifetimes, not for civilizations, not even for stars, because the gum-sized Earth would continue to move through the endless dark, carried by the unseen currents of gravity. This journey is silent, invisible, unnoticed by the universe, but it is constant, carrying with it every story, every generation, every hope. To imagine Earth as gum is to see how small our place is in that journey, but also how meaningful, because we are the passengers on this eternal voyage. No matter how tiny the ship, the journey matters. And no matter how small the planet, the stories it carries give it weight. The gum-sized Earth would be a reminder that life is always in motion, always traveling, always becoming, and that the journey itself is as important as the destination. The hidden jewel in the infinite vastness of space. The gum-sized Earth would be like a hidden jewel, small, almost invisible, but shining with an inner glow that no other object could match. Jewels are not measured by their size, but by their brilliance, their rarity, and their meaning. And Earth, though tiny, would be the rarest jewel of all, carrying the treasure of life. Stars may burn brighter, galaxies may stretch farther, black holes may pull stronger, but none of them would carry forests, oceans, creatures, and people who dream. To hold the gum-sized Earth would be to hold the rarest gem in existence, more precious than anything else in the cosmos. Its beauty would not be obvious, its glow not blinding, but its rarity would give it value beyond measure. The hidden jewel would remind us that true worth is not always visible to the eye. Sometimes it is hidden, sometimes it is small, but always it is priceless. The whisper of home in the silence of the universe. The gum-sized Earth would be like a whisper of home, faint but familiar, quiet but comforting, small but filled with meaning. No matter how far one travels, no matter how vast the stars seem, the whisper of Earth would always call us back, reminding us of where we belong. The whisper would not be loud, it would not be grand, but it would be steady, like the soft hum of a lullaby, carrying the memory of oceans, the scent of forests, the warmth of sun, and the touch of wind. The gum-sized Earth would remind us that home is not defined by size, not defined by power, but by belonging, by the feeling of being part of something larger than ourselves. Even if it were only as big as gum, Earth would still be home, still be the place where every memory begins, every dream is born, and every life finds its meaning. The whisper of home is enough to guide us, enough to comfort us, enough to remind us that no matter how small we are never lost. Fragility wrapped in the cosmos. Earth were no larger than a piece of gum. Its fragility would become even more apparent than it already is, for within that small, soft sphere would rest every layer of atmosphere. Every ocean wave, every forest leaf, and every heartbeat that has ever existed. The thin shell of air that shields us would feel like the transparent wrapper clinging to a piece of candy, delicate enough to tear at the slightest pull, reminding us how vulnerable our existence is in the great expanse. Stars would loom overhead, like colossal guardians, their radiance so overwhelming that our gum-sized planet would seem more like a forgotten crumb in an endless banquet. And yet, despite this smallness, the gum would carry a sweetness, a flavor symbolic of all life's complexity, from the buzzing of bees to the vast migrations of whales, from the laughter of children to the silence of ancient ruins. Each wrinkle on the gum's surface would represent mountains and valleys, each faint shimmer the flow of rivers and seas. But one sudden slip, one cosmic accident, one careless step from forces beyond our imagination, and the gum could vanish into nothingness, as if it were never chewed by the universe at all. In this vision, fragility is not weakness, but a reminder of preciousness, for it teaches us that what is most delicate often holds the greatest meaning, and what appears smallest may hold the richest flavor of all, the flavor of time. If earthward gum, time itself would unfold like the stretching and chewing of that tiny piece, a rhythm of moments that expand, contract, and dissolve over ages. The first taste would be the sweetness of creation, when the molten surface cooled and oceans began to shimmer, offering flavor to the void. With every chew, civilizations would rise and fall, their stories blending into the texture of history, sometimes sharp, sometimes fading. The flavor would shift again with discovery, when ships crossed oceans and telescopes revealed galaxies, when new ideas stretched the gum wider than ever imagined. Yet, as centuries passed, the taste would dull, becoming subtle, faint, reminding us that nothing lasts forever, not even the strongest empires or the boldest voices. Still, within that fading flavor lies memory, and memory holds its own richness. For even when the gum seems to lose its sweetness, we still carry its echo, a trace of what once was. Earth, too, may one day lose its brilliance against the vastness of the cosmos, but the timeline of its flavor, birth, bloom, decline, and renewal will always remain part of the larger feast of existence, never fully gone, always lingering like the faint aftertaste of something once cherished, a playground for giants in a universe where Earth is no larger than gum. The planets and stars around it would feel like titans in an endless playground, tossing and turning with a strength we could never match. Jupiter would swing overhead like a glowing balloon, so massive that our tiny June world would cling to its orbit as though hiding in its shadow. Saturn would spin its rings with the flair of a child's toy, scattering fragments of ice and rock, as if they were glitter tossed into the air, each shard larger than our entire gum planet. Black holes would be bullies, lurking in the corners, swallowing gumballs like ours without a thought, as though snatching snacks from an endless cosmic jar. To walk on this gum earth would be to live in awe of giants, aware that every step we take is small compared to their strides. And yet, despite their size, it is within the gum that flavor truly exists. For giants may be vast, but often empty, while the gum holds detail, intricacy, and meaning. Perhaps the playground of the universe needs both, the giants to remind us of scale, and the gum to remind us of significance. Whispers within the wrapper. If were gum, then the atmosphere wrapping around it would be like a thin piece of transparent paper, almost invisible, yet essential in holding everything together. That wrapper would shield us from the cold bite of space, from the harsh winds of solar storms, and from the emptiness that seeks to swallow all sound. Inside that wrapper, life would whisper, winds moving through trees, waves breaking on shores, birds calling at dawn, voices rising in songs. From outside, the gum might look silent and ordinary, but within the wrapper, those whispers would tell stories, each one unique, each one fragile. Imagine holding the gum to your ear and hearing, not silence, but the echoes of billions of voices layered together, from ancient chants to modern laughter. This is the paradox of Earth as gum, so small that it might go unnoticed in the grand market of stars, yet so full of whispers that no other piece could ever taste the same. The stretch of a mote. Picture Earth as gum is to stretch imagination itself, to bend our minds the way gum bends in a child's hands, twisting, folding, reshaping without breaking. Within that stretch lies possibility imagining, a world where size is no measure of importance, where even the tiniest speck can hold oceans of meaning. The gum might stretch across ages, carrying civilizations forward like a bridge of flavor, or shrink back into itself, hiding its secrets within folds too small to see. Imagination, like gum, never truly ends. It softens, it shifts, but it keeps reshaping itself, creating new forms from the same substance. And so, to imagine Earth as gum is not merely to think of scale, but to enter a realm where creativity flows endlessly, where we begin to see our world not as fixed, but as malleable, as something that can always be stretched into new shapes, new dreams, and new wonders. Lost among the stars, a gum-sized Earth would hardly be noticed among the ocean of stars. Its glow dim and quiet, its presence almost invisible. Stars would shine like lanterns in a city of lights, while our small gumball planet would be more like a faint spark in the corner of the night. Yet, being lost among the stars does not mean being forgotten. Even the smallest light has meaning. When seen by eyes that search, somewhere, perhaps, a distant traveler might stumble upon the gum, pick it up, and marvel that something so tiny carries such richness inside. To be small among the stars is not a tragedy, but a truth, a reminder that greatness is not always in brightness or size, but in depth, in flavor, in the quiet persistence of existing against impossible odds, echoes in the chew of history. On a gum-sized Earth would unfold like the steady chew of time, with each bite releasing new echoes of events that ripple outward. The first civilizations would be like the first burst of sweetness, strong and unforgettable. The rise of empires would be the gum stretched thin, daring to reach further than ever before. The collapse of kingdoms would be the snap, the sudden return to smaller pieces, scattered but never gone. Every invention, every discovery, every revolution would be another chew, another echo released into the flavor of existence. Even wars and struggles, bitter as they are, would become part of the taste, shaping the gum's texture, altering its story. History would not be something written in stone, but chewed into memory, each echo adding to the endless rhythm that makes Earth unique. The smallness that holds everything it may seem strange that a gum-sized planet could hold so much, yet that is the truth of our Earth even now. Smallness does not limit meaning. Instead, it concentrates it. A grain of sugar carries sweetness. A single seed carries forests. A tiny gumball Earth carries every city skyline, every field of flowers, every mountain peak, and every deep sea trench. Smallness, in this vision, is not insignificance, but focus. The smaller something is, the more carefully it must be held, the more deeply it must be cherished. Earth may be gum, but inside it, there are galaxies of thought, universes of feeling, and infinities of connection. To recognize this smallness is to understand that even the tiniest container can hold the largest truths, infinite. Chew of existence, existence itself could be seen as an eternal chew, an endless cycle where beginnings and endings blend like flavors that fade and return. Earth as gum is simply one chew in the mouth of the cosmos, one moment of flavor in an infinite banquet of creation. Stars may burn, galaxies may collide, black holes may consume, but the chewing continues, reshaping and renewing our gumbo. Planet may one day lose its flavor to the universe, fading into silence. Yet the memory of its taste will linger in the great rhythm of existence. For nothing is ever truly lost. It simply transforms, becomes part of another chew, another flavor, another echo in the infinite mouth of the cosmos. Finding peace in perspective. To imagine Earth as gum is to find peace in perspective. To understand that we are both small and infinite at once. We are tiny enough to vanish without notice, yet vast enough to hold entire histories in our hearts. We are gum in the hand of the universe, fragile, chewable, temporary, yet full of flavor, full of life, full of meaning. This perspective does not diminish us, it frees us. It reminds us that we need not strive for cosmic greatness, for we already carry universes within. To live on this gum-sized earth is to live inside a miracle, one so small it could be lost, yet so powerful it will never truly be forgotten. The cosmic pocket of flavor. Imagine the universe as a vast jacket with countless pockets, each one hiding treasures, stars, or fragments of time. And inside one of those pockets lies a tiny piece of gum. That gum is Earth, small, soft, and easily overlooked, yet carrying all the sweetness of life. While other pockets may hold shining diamonds of stars or glittering coins of galaxies, our gum is unique because within it beats the rhythm of existence, the sound of oceans rolling endlessly, the hum of forests breathing, the voices of people telling stories under starlight. Its flavor is unlike anything else in the cosmos. Not because it is the largest or brightest, but because it carries layers of taste, joy, and sorrow, love and loss, creation and destruction, all blending into one continuous chew. In the pocket of infinity, Earth remains a treasure hidden in plain sight, reminding us that even the smallest morsel can define the flavor of the whole universe. A sphere of secrets. Earth as gum would be more than a small, chewable orbit would be a sphere of secrets, each fold and stretch hiding mysteries waiting to be discovered. Deep beneath its surface, molten rivers would flow like hidden fillings inside the gum, shaping mountains above. In its oceans, unknown creatures would swim, glowing with colors never seen by human eyes, like sugar crystals hidden beneath the surface of sweetness. Above, the skies would whisper secrets in storms and auroras, patterns only the patient could read. Even history itself would hide like secret layers of flavor, civilizations lost to time, their ruins buried deep, their voices faint yet present in the echoes of our gum world. To hold Earth as gum in your hand would be to hold countless stories that no one could ever fully chew through, a flavor so layered that it would take eternity to taste it all. The chewer beyond the sky. If Earth is gum, then who or what chews it? Could the universe itself be the great chewer, biting, stretching, rolling our small planet in its endless jaws of time? Each chew would be a cycle, the birth of life, the rise of civilizations, the crumbling of empires, the rebirth of ideas, the never-ending stretch of existence. Perhaps the stars are simply teeth marks, reminders that creation is not random, but part of a larger rhythm, an unseen mouth savoring the flavor of existence. Some would call this chewer fate, others God, others chance, but whatever name we give, the truth remains that our gum world is shaped not only by itself, but by the chew of forces far beyond us. The beauty is that the gum never breaks, it stretches and reshapes, surviving the chew to offer new flavors with each turn. The wrapper of illusioner around our gum-sized earth lies a wrapper of illusion, a veil we mistake for reality. The wrapper is space itself, vast and endless, making us believe we are smaller than we truly are, making us forget that within our gum lies entire universes of thought and meaning. The wrapper glimmers with stars like decorations, tempting us to look outward and forget the richness within. Yet, when we dare to unwrap, we discover that Earth itself is the sweetness, that everything we need to understand the infinite is already held inside. The wrapper protects, but also deceives, offering mystery and wonder, but hiding the truth that even in smallness there is boundless power. To live is to slowly peel back this wrapper, one fold at a time, revealing flavors that were always waiting beneath. When flavors collide in the cosmic marketplace, there are countless pieces of gum, some old and flavorless, some new and bursting with taste. What happens when flavors collide? If Earth were gum, it could one day brush against another gum world, their flavors mixing in strange and unexpected ways. Perhaps life from one would spark life in the other, a new sweetness born from collision. Or perhaps the contact would overwhelm, one flavor drowning out the other, leaving only faint aftertastes of what once was. Yet even in loss, the act of collision would create something new, a reminder that the cosmos itself is not static, but alive with experiments, tastes, and blends. Earth as gum is never alone. It is part of an endless menu, each piece waiting to mix, to collide, to share its flavor in ways beyond imagination. The softness of being to think of Earth as gum is to embrace softness in a universe that often feels sharp and cold. Planets of rock, stars of fire, black holes of hunger all are hard, merciless, and unyielding, but gum is soft, pliable, forgiving, able to bend and stretch without shattering. In this softness lies the secret of life, for rigidity may break, but flexibility survives. Earth's softness is seen in the way forests recover after storms, in the way rivers carve stone with patience, in the way people heal after sorrow. Gum does not resist, it adapts, it moves, it continues. In a cosmos where hardness dominates, Earth's softness becomes its strength, a quiet defiance against the harshness of eternity. The forgotten chew it if Earth as gum is not fresh and new, but already forgotten, discarded by some cosmic hand long ago. A piece once chewed, its sweetness fading, now left floating in the dark as an afterthought. And yet, even a forgotten gum still carries memory, faint echoes of flavor that linger. Our lives, our histories, may be those echoes, the faint taste of something the universe once savored. This thought is haunting, yet comforting too, for even in forgetfulness there is meaning. A forgotten chew is still a chew, a moment once tasted, once cherished, and nothing can erase that it was part of the great banquet of existence. stretching across dreams earth, as gum would not only stretch across time, but across dreams, bending into the imaginations of all who live within it. Every dream we dream adds to the stretch, pulling the gum further, creating shapes no one has ever seen before. A child's dream of flying, an artist's dream of color, a thinker's dream of truth all add flavor, all add elasticity. The gum becomes not just a planet, but a dream machine, turning thought into texture, imagination into reality. To sleep within such a gum world is to drift not in silence, but in a playground of endless shapes and possibilities, where the act of dreaming itself keeps the gum soft and alive and alive. The flavor that fades and returns. Like all gum, Earth's flavor would fade with time, but fading does not mean ending. Just as a piece of gum may seem tasteless, only to surprise us with a sudden return of sweetness, Earth too goes through cycles of fading and renewal. Civilizations decline, forests vanish, species disappear, and we think the flavor is gone, but then it returns in new forms, in rebirth, in unexpected beauty. The fading teaches us to appreciate the moments of richness, while the return reminds us that life is an eternal rhythm of loss and gain, bitterness and sweetness, silence and song. The flavor of earth, though small, is never truly gone. It lingers, waiting for its moment to bloom again, the eternal chew of silence at the end of it all. When stars grow dim and galaxies drift apart, Earth as gum may finally rest in silence. No more chewing, no more stretching, just stillness in the jaws of eternity. And yet, within that silence lies peace, a final flavor that is not sweet or bitter, but calm, soft, eternal. The silence does not erase the flavors that came before. It honors them, holds them gently, lets them rest. In this eternal chew of silence, Earth remains what it always was, small, fragile, flavored with life, and forever part of the great mouth of the cosmos, the smallest chew in the infinite festive. The universe is a banquet table stretching endlessly into the unknown. Then Earth, as a piece of gum, would be the tiniest chew resting at one edge, easily missed among the towering platters of galaxies and the luminous goblets of stars, yet somehow carrying a flavor that no other dish can provide. The universe may serve blazing suns like roasted fire, swirling nebulas like bowls of cosmic smoke, and black holes like goblets of dark wine. But Earth offers something different, the taste of memory, the sweetness of laughter, the salt of tears, the spice of curiosity, the softness of dreams. It may be small, but in the mouth of eternity, sometimes it is the smallest morsel that lingers the longest, leaving an aftertaste that outlives all the grander courses. The fragile stretch of time gum stretches when pulled, and so too does time, extending in thin, translucent strands across the ages, each one fragile yet unbroken. Earth, as gum, would stretch across billions of years, from molten beginnings to quiet nights where children look at the stars, from ancient forests breathing with dinosaurs to modern cities glowing with neon, from forgotten tribes singing round fire to voices echoing across digital clouds. Each stretch thins the flavor, but also preserves it, turning moments into threads that weave together into the tapestry of existence. And though time may pull the gum until it seems about to break, somehow it holds, unyielding, reminding us that fragility is not the same as weakness. It is the quiet strength of survival. The sweetness hidden in silence. To chew earth as gum would not always be to taste sweetness immediately. Often, it is silence that fills the mouth first, the absence of flavor, the pause before the richness emerges. This silence is the long quiet of space, the stillness of deserts, the deep hush of oceans, the frozen breath of mountains at dawn. Within these silences lies hidden sweetness, subtle, patient, waiting to be noticed. The gum world teaches that silence is not emptiness but fullness disguised, that flavor blooms only for those willing to wait, to taste beyond the surface. In a noisy universe, the sweetness of silence is perhaps the rarest flavor of all, and earth carries it within every pause, every quiet breath, every still star-filled night. The infinite jaw of creation, every chew of gum reshapes it, and so too does creation constantly reshape earth. The jaw of the cosmos chews endlessly, crushing mountains only to raise new ones, dissolving empires only to birth new civilizations, extinguishing species only to paint the world with new life. To live on earth is to live inside this chew, to be part of the stretch and fold of existence, to feel the shaping power of creation in every storm, every quake, every spark of invention. The jaw is not cruel, it is simply endless, working with patience far beyond our understanding, sculpting gum into ever-changing forms. Each chew adds depth to the flavor, reminding us that creation is not a single act, but an eternal rhythm, the flavor that teaches humility. When we imagine earth as gum, we see ourselves not as the center of the universe, but as part of a tiny, chewable fragment, fragile and fleeting. This vision teaches humility, reminding us that our great monuments, our loud histories, our powerful machines are still small compared to the vast jaws of eternity. Yet humility is not despair, it is a soft wisdom that allows us to see beauty in our smallness, meaning in our brevity. The gum world tells us we do not need to be infinite to matter. Even a fleeting taste can bring joy. Even the smallest flavor can change the whole mouth of existence. The gum wrapped in dreams, every piece of gum comes wrapped, and Earth's wrapper is made not of foil, but of dreams. Dreams protect the gum from despair, coating it with color, with hope, with possibility. Dreams are the wrappers that children draw in the sand, that poets write in words, that scientists imagine in equations, that lovers weave into promises whispered under stars. Though the gum may fade, the wrapper of dreams remains glittering in memory, keeping the peace alive for those who dare to unwrap it again and again. Earth is not just a flavret, is also the dreams that give that flavor meaning, the wrapping that makes it precious. The invisible bubbles we blow gum invites us to blow bubbles, to stretch it into fragile orbs that float for a moment before they burst. Earth to blows bubbles, bubbles of civilizations that rise and fall, bubbles of ideas that swell until they collapse, bubbles of lives that shine brightly before dissolving into memory. Each bubble is beautiful in its briefness, reflecting light in shimmering colors before vanishing. The gum world reminds us that impermanence is not failure. It is the essence of beauty, the reason we treasure each bubble, each moment, each fragile breath. The flavor of togetherness. No gum is truly enjoyed alone. Its sweetness is always greater when shared. Earth as gum carries this truth within it, for its flavor comes alive only in togetherness, oceans shared by all, skies unbroken by borders, the laughter of families, the songs of communities, the shared silence of people looking at the same moon. The gum is small, but its flavor expands when tasted together, when humanity remembers that division weakens the chew while unity deepens it. To be part of this gum world is to be part of a collective flavor, richer than anything we could taste alone. The stretch between stars, imagine Earth as gum stretched not only across time but across space, reaching like a thin thread toward the stars. Each stretch connects us to distant suns, to worlds unseen, to possibilities waiting beyond. The gum may be small, but its elasticity knows no bounds, linking the tiny chew in our mouths to galaxies spinning billions of light years away. To stretch Earth's gum toward the stars is to imagine journeys not yet taken, to believe that even the smallest piece of sweetness can bridge the endless distances of the cosmos. The eternal aftertaste. Every piece of gum leaves an aftertaste, faint yet lingering, staying with us long after the chewing stops. Earth too will leave its aftertaste in the universe, a flavor of life, of dreams, of fragile beauty, carried forever in the jaws of time. Long after the gum is gone, its memory will remain, subtle yet unforgettable, reminding eternity that once there was sweetness in this corner of the cosmos. The eternal aftertaste is the final gift of Earth as gum, a whisper of flavor that says we were here, we lived, we loved, and we mattered, no matter how small we seemed. The cosmic chew of eternity. If Earth were just a piece of gum, then the entire universe could be imagined as an endless jaw chewing slowly, each motion grinding galaxies, stars, and worlds into new shapes, folding creation and destruction into one rhythm that never ends. And in this chew, Earth would be insignificant, a tiny flavor hidden in the corner of an infinite mouth, yet still carrying a taste unique enough to be noticed, unique enough to linger. The gum would stretch across billions of years, sometimes thin, sometimes dense, sometimes almost breaking, yet never quite losing itself, because flavor cannot be destroyed, can only change form, becoming sweeter, becoming bitter, becoming faint, then strong again, like history rising and falling. Civilizations would be the fleeting bursts of sugar, intense but temporary, dissolving into blandness as empires crumble, only for another sweet surge to appear when new life, new voices, new ideas arrive. The chew itself would be patient, beyond human understanding, a rhythm that cares nothing for our fears, yet somehow preserves us, because even in the endless jaw of eternity, even in the stretch of infinite chew, Earth's small taste adds something irreplaceable to the cosmic banquet, a reminder that no piece of gum, no matter how small, is ever truly forgotten once it is tasted by existence itself. The sugar crystals of civilization when you first chew gum. There are small bursts of sugar that dissolve, sharp and sweet, before fading into the steady chew. And if Earth were gum, then civilizations would be these sugar crystals, sudden, bright, moments of sweetness that define the flavor before vanishing. Ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Romal were crystals dissolving quickly, releasing their sweetness into the gum of time, then disappearing into the bland base, but leaving behind a subtle richness that changes the flavor forever. Every crystal is temporary. Every empire is fragile, but together they layer upon one another, creating a depth of flavor that no single bite could produce. Modern cities, glowing with neon and buzzing with machines, are crystals too, sweet and sharp, but destined to dissolve, to vanish into memory. The gum teaches us that nothing lasts forever, yet everything matters, because each crystal, however brief, leaves its mark on the chew, making the whole richer, deeper, and more unforgettable. The sticky threads of memory gum sticks, clinging to surfaces long after its flavor fades. And earth, too, sticks to the universe through memory, through stories told, songs sung, names whispered, and dreams shared. Memory clings to time the way gum clings to shoes, stubborn, unyielding, refusing to be erased. A child's laughter, a poet's words, a scientist's discovery, a painter's brushstroke itches a sticky thread, attaching earth to eternity, keeping it from vanishing into the void. Even when civilizations crumble and monuments fall, the stickiness remains, invisible but strong, holding the past and the present together. The gum world reminds us that memory is both a gift and a burden, that to be remembered is to never truly be lost, and that every sticky thread, no matter how small, is part of the web that connects Earth's flavor to the infinite chew of creation, the endless flavor of dreams and like candy that vanishes quickly. Gum keeps its flavor longer, and Earth as gum would carry the flavor of dreams stretching across generations. Dreams are what keep the chew alive, what prevent the gum from turning bitter or dull. Every dream is a spark of sweetness, from the dream of flying that led to wings of metal, to the dream of reaching stars that inspired rockets, to the dream of love that binds people together in ways no science can explain. Dreams do not die when the dreamers do. They linger like faint flavors, subtle but persistent, shaping the chew of history. The gum of Earth is not just matter and stone, it is imagination, hope, and the endless capacity to believe in something more. Without dreams, the flavor fades. With them, the chew remains alive forever, unending, eternal. The gum beneath the cosmic tables. Sometimes gum is not chewed but stuck beneath tables, hidden, forgotten, yet still existing, still clinging stubbornly to its place. And Earth could be imagined this way, to a forgotten gum beneath the cosmic banquet table, unseen by most of creation, ignored by larger galaxies, yet still present, still carrying its quiet flavor. This hidden existence is not shame but mystery, for the gum beneath the table sees what others do not, the underside of creation, the shadows, the silence, the forgotten corners where light does not reach. To be gum beneath the cosmic table is to be humble but enduring, small but stubborn, hidden but eternal, surviving where others dissolve, waiting patiently for the moment when its flavor will be discovered again, unexpected and powerful, like a secret revealed after ages of silence. The stretching of human desire, every piece of gum stretches when pulled, and human desire stretches too, reaching beyond what seems possible, sometimes snapping, sometimes holding, always testing its limits. Earth as gum would embody this stretch, the way humans reach for stars, for knowledge, for meaning, stretching themselves across pain and joy, across failure and triumph, across despair and hope. Desire stretches technology, art, love, faith, pulls us forward, even when it hurts, even when we fear it might break. And like gum, the more it stretches, the thinner it becomes. Yet still it holds, fragile yet strong, translucent yet unbroken, carrying within it the beauty of reaching beyond what is safe, what is certain, what is easy. The gum world shows us that to stretch is to live, and to risk breaking is the only way to touch the stars. The chewed remnants of history-chewed gum is never the same as new gum. It is reshaped, softened, infused with flavor and memory. And Earth's history is the same record of chews, of countless generations, shaping it with their struggles, their victories, their losses, their dreams. The remnants of history are not waste, but treasure, the softened gum that holds within it all that has ever been tasted. Every war, every song, every love, every invention is folded into the chew, changing its texture, deepening its flavor. The gum of Earth carries scars, wrinkles, stretches, compressions, but each mark is proof of life, proof of existence. The chewed remnants may not be pretty, but they are real, and in them lies the true essence of the world's flavor, a taste that no untouched gum could ever offer. The unseen flavor of silence. Sometimes gum loses its flavor, becoming bland. Yet even in this blandness there is an unseen taste, subtle, hidden, waiting. Earth as gum carries this truth, even in silence. Even in emptiness there is flavor. The silence of space, the quiet of deserts, the stillness of mountains, the hush of oceans, these are flavors, too faint but profound, teaching that life is not only sweetness, but also stillness, not only noise, but also quiet. The unseen flavor of silence is what gives the gum world depth, reminding us that absence is also presence, that nothingness is also something, that silence is not the end of flavor, but its hidden core, waiting for those who listen closely enough to taste it. The eternal flavor of fragility. Gum is fragile, able to tear, to lose flavor, to be discarded, and Earth to carries this fragility. To imagine Earth as gum is to imagine a world always on the edge of breaking, yet never giving up, always stretching just a little further, always surviving just a little longer. Fragility is not weakness, it is the reason the flavor is precious, the reason we savor it. The eternal flavor of Earth lies not in its strength, but in its fragility, in the fact that it could end, yet does not, that it could break, yet continues to stretch, that it could dissolve into nothing, yet still lingers, carrying sweetness for those who choose to taste it. Fragility is what makes Earth as gum more than just matter. It makes it meaning, memory, miracle. The universe, chewing its own reflection at last. We imagine the strangest vision, the universe itself chewing gum made of Earth, tasting its own reflection, savoring its own mystery, learning from its own flavor. To chew Earth as gum is to chew the universe in miniature, to hold infinity in the mouth, to compress stars, galaxies, and dreams into a single piece of sweetness. The gum world becomes a mirror in which the cosmos sees itself, fragile yet eternal, small yet infinite, sweet yet fleeting, bland yet profound. The chew is both playful and serious, a rhythm that teaches the universe about itself, a reminder that sometimes the smallest piece of gum can reveal the greatest truths, that sometimes the tiniest flavor can carry the weight of eternity, the forgotten flavor beneath the stars. If Earth were just a piece of gum, then beneath the glittering canopy of stars, it would be nothing more than a speck of flavor, a forgotten chew stuck to the edge of infinity, invisible to most yet undeniably there, holding within its smallness the taste of oceans, mountains, laughter, sorrow, and everything in between. And though stars may burn brighter and galaxies may spread wider, this little gum still carries its own identity, its own flavor that is unlike any other. A sweetness born of life and struggle, of creation and destruction, of endless cycles folding into one another. And while the stars blaze for billions of years and collapse into silence, the gum too endures, not by shining but by sticking, not by burning but by clinging, reminding the universe that even the smallest forgotten piece has its place, even the tiniest flavor has meaning, even the overlooked sweetness matters, and in that hidden persistence lies a kind of immortality, a whisper of presence beneath the endless sky, the cosmic game of chewing and spitting to see Earth as gum is to see creation as a game played by eternity itself. A chew taken, a flavor tasted, a piece spat out, then chewed again in another form. And in this endless cycle, the universe becomes both player and playground, both chewer and chewed, both consumer and creator. And Earth is simply one round of the game, one flavor among many, stretched, folded, blown into bubbles of civilizations that pop and collapse back into the chew, leaving remnants of sweetness that mix with bitterness, leaving stains of memory that linger even after the bubble bursts. And though the game is infinite and careless, though pieces are spat out into the void with no concern for their survival, still the act of chewing gives meaning, because to be chewed is to be noticed, to be tasted, to be part of the cosmic play, and Earth, even as gum, has been chosen, if only briefly, to be part of the game that never ends, the game that is everything, the game that is nothing, that is nothing. The infinite stretch of time itself can be seen as gum stretched endlessly, pulled longer and thinner with each passing age. And Earth clings within it, a small piece stretched along the infinite pull, fragile, yet refusing to snap, holding its form even as it is thinned beyond recognition. And this stretch is not gentle but relentless, testing every fiber of existence, testing every civilization, testing every dream, until all are made transparent, translucent, nearly breaking, yet somehow still connected, still holding together by the unseen bonds of memory and matter. And in this fragile stretching lies the beauty of Earth, that it has not broken despite wars, despite disasters, despite chaos, that it continues to hold within the endless tension of time, that it carries its flavor even when stretched almost to nothing. And this stretch teaches us that survival is not about strength but about resilience, not about resisting the pull, but about adapting to it, not about avoiding fragility, but about embracing it as the very proof of life itself. The bubbles of human imagination, when gum is chewed, it can be blown into bubbles, fragile spheres that shimmer for a moment before collapsing. And human imagination is just the same, blowing bubbles of stories, dreams, inventions, and visions into the air of time, each one bright, beautiful, delicate, and temporary, yet worth everything. Because without bubbles, the gum is just a chew. But with them, it becomes play, wonder, magic, and Earth is a gum bubbling endlessly, filling the universe with art, with poetry, with science, with love, with ideas that float briefly before bursting. only to be followed by new bubbles, fresh creations, endless attempts at expression. And though each bubble breaks, their beauty is not lost. For in their brief shimmer they reflect light that cannot be erased. They remind us that impermanence is part of meaning, that fragility is part of beauty, and that imagination is the act of blowing bubbles into the infinite void, even knowing they will not last, even knowing they will pop, because it is the act of blowing that matters, the act of dreaming that gives flavor to existence. The chewer. Beyond the horizon of earth is gum. Then who is the one chewing? Is it time? Is it fate? Is it some consciousness beyond imagination? Perhaps the gum has no chewer. Perhaps it is self-chewed, folding upon itself endlessly, stretching and twisting in rhythms that feel like intention but are only natural law. Yet perhaps, too, there is a great jaw beyond the horizon, an unseen presence that chews not out of hunger but out of curiosity, not out of need but out of creation, tasting each flavor, savoring each world, learning from each chew. And if so, then earth has been tasted, earth has been noticed, earth has been part of the banquet of existence. And though this idea may frighten or comfort, depending on how it is chewed, it matters less whether the chewer exists than that the gum has been chewed, that its flavor has been released, that it has played its part in the endless banquet of being. And that in itself is enough. The melting sweetness of life. When gum first enters the mouth, there is a rush of sweetness that quickly fades, and life, too, is like this, a burst of vivid sensation, followed by the slow fading into routine, into repetition, into quiet chew. And yet, this fading does not erase the sweetness, it transforms it, teaching us that joy cannot stay at its peak forever, that beauty is not permanent, that flavor must mellow to reveal its deeper taste. And earth carries this truth in every sunrise, in every birth, in every beginning, that cannot stay new forever, that must soften into age, into memory, into the quiet chew of time. And though we may mourn the fading of sweetness, we must also honor it, for without fading there is no depth, without loss there is no meaning, without the slow chew there is no eternity. And so life as gum teaches us to savor the burst, then to accept the fade, and to find in the fading a sweetness of another kind, a sweetness that endures beyond the sugar, beyond the spark, into the chew that lasts forever. The chewed layers of existence, gum folds upon itself, as it is chewed, layers upon layers, pressed together, mixed, softened. And earth too is a layering, a folding of time, of memory, of matter, of meaning, each age pressed into the next, each generation folded into the chew of history, creating a texture that no single moment could achieve on its own. And this layering is both chaotic and beautiful, messy yet ordered, accidental yet inevitable. And in it lies the richness of existence. For without folding, the gum would be flat. Without chewing, it would be unformed. And so every war, every peace, every discovery, every silence, every joy, and every grief is necessary, each one pressed into the gum to make it whole, to make it deep, to make it flavorful. And earth as gum reminds us that nothing is wasted, that every fold matters, that even the most bitter moment adds to the chew, shaping the texture of forever, the sticky shadows of forgotten worlds. Sometimes gum is lost, dropped, stuck in shadows, where no one sees, and forgotten worlds are like this. Civilizations erased by time, species vanished without record, entire ages gone without memory, yet still they stick, still they cling to the gum of earth, hidden in fossils, in ruins, in whispers of DNA, in echoes of culture, invisible yet not gone, silent yet not erased. And though we may not see them, they remain, sticky shadows holding the past to the present, binding what was to what is, and teaching us that nothing disappears completely, that even when forgotten, even when invisible, the shadows endure, and in their stickiness, they keep the gum of earth from becoming bland. They give it a flavor richer than we know, deeper than we can taste, a flavor that belongs to all time, not just the present, not just the remembered, but to everything that has ever existed, everything that has ever stuck to the gum of being, the eternal chew of infinition, the end. Earth as gum is not about the gum itself, but about the chew, the eternal rhythm of creation, destruction, renewal, and fading, a rhythm that cannot be stopped, that cannot be avoided, that carries all worlds, all lives, all dreams within it. And this chew is infinity itself, stretching across eons, folding galaxies into flavor, blowing universes into bubbles, spitting out remnants into the void, yet never ceasing, never ending, never growing tired. And within this chew earth plays its part, small yet real, fragile yet flavored, insignificant yet meaningful. And to imagine this is to imagine peace, to see that we are not outside the chew but part of it, not victims of time but participants in eternity, and that even as gum, even as the smallest flavor in the mouth of infinity, earth belongs, earth matters. Earth is chewed into forever, and forever is chewed into earth, the silent flavor of forgotten dreams, every dream that has ever been imagined by every mind that has lived on earth floats like invisible flavors inside the gum of existence, a sweetness unmeasured yet deeply present, a silent taste that lingers in the unseen spaces of reality, where forgotten dreams swirl with remembered ones, where unfulfilled hopes and completed triumphs all mix into the same chew of time, creating a complexity no tongue could fully describe. And in this mixture lies the truth of earth, that it is not only the ground we walk upon, but also the gum we chew in our sleep, that it is not only the material world, but also the dreamscape woven into it. And though many of these dreams fade before waking, though many are lost before spoken, they remain within the gum, their sweetness hidden, their power intact. And if one listens carefully enough, if one feels deeply enough, they can taste these forgotten flavors in the quiet moments, in the pauses of life, in the silence between stars. And in that recognition comes the realization that no dream is wasted, no thought is erased, for all are flavors in the eternal chew, and all remain part of the infinite taste, the endless gum of galaxies. If Earth is gum, then galaxies themselves are the packs from which infinite pieces are drawn, each world a different flavor, some sweet, some bitter, some subtle, some overwhelming, and together they form the cosmic collection, a box of existence that never empties, that replenishes itself endlessly, as if the universe were a great shop where eternity itself purchases new chews, unwraps them, and begins again. And in this imagery, Earth is not only one piece, but also a representative of the whole, a symbol of how even the smallest piece reflects the infinite box. And though galaxies stretch beyond sight, though their scale dwarfs our understanding. Still, the gum analogy reminds us that they too are part of the same chew, the same process of tasting, stretching, blowing, and folding, and that even in their vastness, they are not final, not absolute, not greater than the act of chewing itself. For the chew is eternal, and the gum is temporary, and galaxies are but larger flavors within the same eternal jaw, destined to dissolve, destined to vanish, yet beautiful in their brief and flavorful existence. The flavor of silence gum, once chewed long enough, loses its flavor, becoming a quiet, tasteless chew. And silence in the universe is just like this, a fading of flavor into stillness, a settling of taste into the endless neutrality of being. And yet, silence itself is a flavor, subtle and profound, not empty, but full of everything that came before, full of memories of sweetness, full of echoes of taste. And in this way, Earth too will one day fade into silence, not with a scream, but with a whisper, not with flavor bursting, but with flavor fading. And though this may seem tragic, it is instead sacred, for silence is not nothingness, but the culmination of everything, not absence, but the completion of presence, not emptiness, but fullness, hidden. And as we imagine Earth as gum, we must honor the silence. It will one day become the quiet chew of eternity that holds within it every laugh, every cry, every song, every storm. And in that silence lies the ultimate flavor, the one that cannot be described, the one that is everything at once, the taste of existence itself, the stretch between stars. Between every star there is a vast distance, a space so wide it seems unbridgeable. And yet, if Earth is gum, then those distances are like stretches pulled between fingers, thin yet unbroken, fragile yet continuous. And in this stretching lies the truth that nothing is truly separate, that everything remains connected by invisible bonds, stretched to their limits, but never snapping, and Earth is part of this stretch, part of the invisible gum thread that ties stars to planets, planets to moons, moons to dust, and dust to thought. And though to human eyes the stars appear lonely, scattered across the dark, the gum reveals the connection, the unseen web that binds everything into one chew. And in that realization, the vastness becomes less frightening, for it is not empty, but filled with stretch, filled with bonds, filled with invisible threads that make even the most distant star part of the same chew as Earth, part of the same flavor of forever, the flavor that fades but never ends when gum loses its sweetness. We may think it has ended, yet the chew continues, the rhythm remains, the motion persists, and Earth too holds this paradox, that though civilizations may fall, though lives may pass, though moments may fade, the chew goes on, the cycle continues, the flavor transforms but never disappears. And in this lies the immortality of existence, not in staying the same forever, but in always continuing, in shifting, in changing, in becoming something new within. The eternal chew, and so Earth as gum, is not a story of loss, but a story of continuation, not of fading into nothing, but of transforming into something else, something still part of the chew, still part of the taste, still part of the jaw of infinity. And though the flavor may not always be sweet, though it may become bitter or bland, it is still flavor, it is still meaningful, it is still part of the eternal taste, and that is more than enough. That is everything. The flavor hidden in darkness not. All flavors reveal themselves in light. Some can only be tasted in darkness, when the senses sharpen, when distractions fall away, when silence becomes the stage for subtlety. And Earth's gum is no different, for within its chew lies a hidden taste that only the darkness of space reveals, a flavor not found in the blaze of sunlight, but in the stillness of night, not in the noise of day, but in the quiet of stars. And this hidden taste is ancient, mysterious, and eternal, carrying the echoes of forgotten worlds, the whispers of unseen galaxies.